They're moving.
Yeah, that they're moving. They've been moving from coast.
Well, how many people moved out of your state, California?
Oh, I know. No,
Under Newsom?
yeah, no. People do move.
Oh,
Don't doubt about that. People move in America, and you're right.
No, but they're not moving because they want a better view. They like to keep more of their money that they earn.
Yeah, that's true.
Look, Florida is a really good case study. So when DeSantis became governor, there were 250,000 more registered Democrats in Florida when he became governor 8 years.
Bill Maher is now going after the political left for hollowing out cities that once voted blue without hesitation. The outspoken comedian says progressive leaders turned their backs on everyday voters in order to chase approval from the radical fringe. As a result, people in these cities now feel ignored, unsafe, financially squeezed, and deeply frustrated. Maher warns this strategy is political suicide and could seriously damage the future of the Democratic Party in American politics.
I read that the current mayor of Chicago has an approval rating of 6.6%.
Round it up, 7.
I mean, you were just the ambassador to Japan. If that was your approval rating in Japan, they would do harakiri on the live TV.
They would do it at 27.
I mean, what's going on in Chicago?
Look, I mean, we were talking about this a little earlier. I mean, you have also the mayor of New York not doing well. Obviously, other things also here in Los Angeles not doing well, the mayor here. Look, and then you got mayors, like the mayor of San Francisco and other cities that are doing well. So I would say, look, there is a general rule. I had this when I was mayor. Safe streets, strong schools, stable finances.
Rahm Emanuel begins by breaking down exactly why he believes the mayor of Chicago is stuck at a disastrous 6.6% approval rating. According to him, the explanation is painfully simple. It comes down to 3 major problems residents face every single day: public safety, financial pressure, and failing schools. Chicago families are dealing with rising crime, messy budgets, and an education system that keeps disappointing them. Yet, they see little urgency or real action from city leadership. Emanuel explains that leadership is not about fancy speeches or ideological signals. It's about fixing real problems people experience daily. Instead, residents feel forgotten as their quality of life declines. Parents worry about their children's education. Workers fear for their safety on daily commutes. Taxpayers stress over where their money is going. According to Emanuel, the issue isn't messaging, it's priorities, and voters are making their frustration painfully clear.
We've gone through 5 years where people became way too permissive in the culture. They were all, which is why everything's locked up at Walgreens and CVS, and that is a disaster. And our school, and I'll say this about our schools: I don't want to hear another word about the locker room. I don't want to hear another word about the bathroom. You better start focusing on the classroom.
I agree.
We had the worst reading scores for 8th graders in 30 years. And nobody, not a governor, not a mayor, not a president, not a secretary of education is talking about it. We're all wrapped up. Look, in 7th grade, if I known that I could have said the word they and got in the girls' bathroom, I would have done it.
Emanuel is right. And this is where the anger really starts to boil over. Public schools are clearly failing. Yet instead of confronting low standards, poor results, and struggling classrooms, national leaders became consumed by cultural battles over locker rooms and bathrooms. While parents begged to know why their children couldn't read, write, or compete academically, politicians focused on ideological debates that affected only a small number of students. Schools should prioritize learning, safety, and opportunity, not political distractions. And it's impossible to ignore who drove those debates forward. The Democratic Party placed itself at the center, favoring symbolic victories over real solutions. The result is that parents feel ignored, students fall behind, and trust in leadership continues to crumble. This is not just a political failure, it is a generational one.
To be fair, this is... I was being fair. No, this is a huge Democratic Party problem. If you look at Democratic cities, they are terribly run. They have incredibly high taxes. It is impossible to build, so the cost of housing... Let me finish. The cost of housing is crazy in places like New York and Chicago. If you look at Democratic states, You know, look, you go look at New York versus Florida, okay? Roughly the same population. Budget of New York State is twice that of Florida. What do they have? Streets paved with gold? I live in New York. I pay the highest taxes in New York. You get nothing for it. And I think that is the image people have of the Democratic Party.
Fareed Zakaria isn't wrong, and more people are finally saying it out loud. Across the country, Democratic leadership appears to be driving once successful cities into decline. Residents are weighed down by high taxes, smothered by endless regulations, and left vulnerable as public safety deteriorates. Small businesses struggle to survive. Middle-class families feel punished for staying. Basic city services slow down and become unreliable. When people can no longer afford to live where they work and don't feel safe on their own streets, they move away. That's why we're seeing a steady migration from deep blue cities to places offering lower taxes, simpler regulations, and stronger law enforcement. This shift isn't driven by politics alone. It's about quality of life. People want cities that actually work, not cities that lecture while failing to deliver.
Lots of taxes, lots of regulation, but nothing gets done.
Hey,
and I think
I live in L.A.
Right. And I think, you know, it's like the Democrats have to own this and realize the answer to everything is not more taxes, more regulation. People are fed up of that and feel that it isn't working.
The Democrats, look, as somebody who produced the best graduation growth in the country.
Yeah. And we changed our high school. We're Maher. I agree.
No, that's not the point. The point was we changed, but I'll take that. The point isn't the rules. The point is the results. And the party has gotten way too focused on what the rules are.
For far too long, Democrats have obsessed over rules instead of results. Their instinct is to regulate everything, from speech and debate to the number of permits needed just to fix a roof. Bureaucracy has become overwhelming. Simple tasks that should take hours now stretch into weeks or months, buried under paperwork, approvals, and endless reviews. Small businesses suffer the most, but homeowners and workers feel it too. Want to renovate, expand, or build? Get ready to wait. The system crawls along, and no one seems accountable when it stops completely. Instead of asking whether policies actually work, leadership keeps adding more layers, more rules, and more agencies. The result is paralysis. Cities don't feel governed, they feel trapped. People aren't demanding chaos, they're demanding competence. And when government becomes an obstacle instead of a service, frustration is unavoidable.
Take an example of this example. Here, obviously in LA, it took a fire and a natural disaster to make you realize, you know what, the rule's not that important. In Pennsylvania, a bridge collapsed. All of a sudden we go, well, that environmental rule is just not important. We got to build a bridge. It's much more important. And I think the Democratic Party should take a look at and say, we're going to be honest, like we did in 1994 with reinventing government. Everything is on the table. Nothing is safe.
Ram is absolutely right. If the Democratic Party wants to rebuild trust in the cities it controls, it must confront overregulation head-on. That begins with reviewing unnecessary rules and eliminating them. Look at Los Angeles. Taxes are extremely high, yet residents struggle to see any benefit. Infrastructure projects crawl. Housing development stall. Costs explode, all because of endless paperwork and permit delays. Across California, major projects often sit frozen for years, not due to lack of funding or ideas, but because bureaucracy refuses to move. This isn't progress, it's paralysis. Voters aren't asking for slogans. They want results they can see. If Democrats want to prove they can govern effectively, they must prioritize speed, efficiency, and accountability, cut through red tape, and deliver real improvement.
Do you think that Mamdani's election will lead more financial organizations to leave New York City for Wall Street South in Florida? Tell me, I've read that term just recently, Wall Street South, Florida. This is your state. What is that?
A lot of Wall Street guys have moved to Palm Beach. It's been happening really since COVID. It's accelerated with increases in taxes, not just out of New York. It's New Jersey, Connecticut, it's Chicago, it's California.
So they're fleeing high tax blue states for Florida.
None of this should be surprising. Over recent years, countless high-profile figures and major companies have left states like California and New York. These moves aren't random. They are deliberate exits fueled by frustration with democratic leadership. Business owners cite crushing taxes and suffocating regulations. Residents point to rising crime, deteriorating infrastructure, and skyrocketing living costs. Many never wanted to leave. These were their homes, but they feel driven out by policies that value ideology over practicality. When safety, affordability, and opportunity disappear, loyalty only lasts so long. This mass departure is a warning sign, not a coincidence. Ignoring it will only accelerate the decline.
This is the luckiest guy in the world that Mandani got elected, because his district is going to explode. My house, I live 8 miles outside of Queens, has gone up 20% in value since Mandani announced. Okay? Because people aren't going to pay the punishing taxes. New York is the highest tax state in the union.
You said your house value's gone up.
Yeah, because they're moving to Nassau County.
Oh, they're moving out of the city.
Out of the city, and they can still take the train back in the city and not pay the millionaire's tax or whatever crazy thing this guy wants. But what people don't understand is he can't raise the taxes unless the state okays it.
New York's political direction is already sending shockwaves through the city. With Zohar Mamdani gaining traction in the mayoral race, many residents and business owners are looking for exits. His push for a so-called millionaire tax has raised serious concerns among high earners and investors who already shoulder heavy tax burdens. Many see the proposal as punishment rather than fairness. Critics argue leadership should focus on crime, housing, and basic services instead of chasing political applause by squeezing a shrinking tax base. The fear is simple. Higher taxes will drive out talent, investment, and jobs, leaving the city weaker and poorer. For many, leaving now feels like self-protection.
They don't understand that. They don't know what seizing the means of production is. Ken Griffin does. He's the big Wall Street titan. He knows what it is, and that's why he's down in Palm Beach.
We'll see if they move. I mean, you saw Bill.
They're going to move.
Well, look,
They're already moved.
Hold on, Bill Ackman said.
No, they're not.
Hold on.
People say they're going to move all the time after elections. They don't do it.
Bill Ackman said he was going to move.
You know how many people moved out of New York City in the last 3 years? 600,000. They're moving.
Yeah, they're moving.
It's hard to understand why Maher continues to overlook what's plainly happening. People are leaving blue cities and states in large numbers, and poor governance plays a major role. This isn't speculation. It's happening in real time. High-profile figures like Joe Rogan and many other celebrities have left California, citing high taxes, bloated bureaucracy, rising crime, and declining quality of life. And it's not just celebrities. Major corporations are relocating or downsizing to escape regulatory pressure. When jobs and investment leave, cities spiral downward. Yet some commentators, Maher included, seem to dismiss this trend as anecdotal. That trend is now impossible to ignore. When leadership fails, people move, and blue cities pay the price.
You know how many people moved out of your state, California?
Oh, I know. No,
Under Newsom?
Yeah, no. People do move.
Oh,
There's no doubt about that. People move in America, and you're right.
No, but they're not moving because they want a better view. They like to keep more of their money that they earn.
Yeah, that's true.
But Florida is a really good case study. So when DeSantis became governor, there were 250,000 more registered Democrats in Florida when he became governor 8 years ago. Now there's 1.4 million more registered Republicans in Florida. That's all migration from COVID and re-registration from COVID, 100%. Right. So it absolutely is happening.
Across the nation, a pattern has emerged that can no longer be denied. From Chicago to Los Angeles, New York to San Francisco, blue cities once celebrated for culture and innovation now struggle under Democratic leadership. High taxes, overwhelming regulations, failing schools, rising crime, and bloated bureaucracy have created environments where residents feel unheard and unsafe.